12 years now, talking about the Genuine Progress Index to different audiences. The people who get it the fastest, immediately, are Indigenous peoples. And I've always found that fascinating. Why do they immediately understand? Because I think that their natural understanding of the world is holistic. It's based on living within nature, not separate from nature. The social, the cultural, the economic, the environmental are of one piece. I think that in our current culture, civilization, we've tended to compartmentalize things. We look at the economy as if it's a closed box, a silo. How can we make the economy grow? As if it's a separate thing. In the Genuine Progress Index, we see the economy serving social goals, and we see human society as completely dependent on an encompassing ecosystem. When I was trying to investigate why are our policymakers not getting the messages that enable them to create good policy, that enable them to create policies that contribute to a healthier, better world, I realized that a lot had to do with the misleading messages that they were getting from existing measures of progress. It's not necessarily the fault of policymakers, but if you're getting the wrong message, then you can't make good policy. So simply asking the question, why is policy so misguided? Why are policymakers worldwide seemingly incapable of creating a more sustainable world that improves well-being? Why are we so worried about the future of our children? It became apparent that a lot had to do with the misleading signals and the misleading messages that they were getting from their conventional measures of progress. Currently, in our economic growth statistics, the more energy we guzzle, the more greenhouse gases we emit, the more the economy will grow. When such misleading signals are sent to policymakers by our conventional measures of progress, it's very difficult for them to take real action on climate change. The Genuine Progress Index values the health of the population, their educational attainment. We give value to volunteer work. We give value to safe and strong communities. All these things have value in the Genuine Progress Index. We measure the social, economic, and environmental bases of our health and well-being. And if the gap between rich and poor is shrinking, that's good in the Genuine Progress Index. Greater equity is a sign that we're making genuine progress rather than a growing gap between rich and poor that leaves an increasing number of people out in the cold, without sufficient food to eat, financially insecure, not certain that they can put food on the table. In the Genuine Progress Index, that kind of financial and economic security matters. We don't simply count how much income we have, but whether the bulk of the population, the vast majority of people, have some sense of economic and financial security. When you have a very narrow measurement tool, like the GDP, economic growth statistics, then all that policymakers can think of is almost as if they have blinders on. Oh, the economy stopped growing, that's bad. We have to re-stimulate the economy and make it grow again. That's so narrow. Where is the environment? Where is the well-being of future generations? What about the living standards of our children and their children if we deplete resources at a faster rate than they can be replenished? The way we measure progress is the economy growing? But what does that tell us about the health of the population, the quality of the environment, the safety and strength of our communities? On the contrary, our economic growth statistics sometimes send very misleading messages, because the more trees you cut down, the more fish you catch, the more you deplete your natural wealth, the more the economy will grow. The more crime you have and the more money you have to spend on prisons, the more the economy will grow. Because our economic growth statistics only count what you spend money on, regardless of whether that's improving your well-being or detracting from your well-being. So many of the constituents of well-being are currently ignored or sidelined, or even perverse messages are sent through our conventional economic growth-based measures of progress. I have a daughter who is 17 years old, and personally, I'm concerned about the world that she's inheriting. When I was her age, we didn't dream that there wouldn't be enough fish in the oceans. We thought that natural resources were going to last forever. When I think about the world that my own child is growing up in and inheriting, I worry. And looking at what could be the causes of our generation leaving a questionable world for our children, I have to say a lot of the responsibility is in the way we measure our progress. If we were to measure our progress in a way that valued what matters to parents, thinking about their children, their health, their education, the safety of their communities, the quality of the environment, the health of natural resources, some kind of economic security, if we think about what matters to us, then we want to measure our progress in a way that reflects those values, the things that matter to us. Fundamentally, I'm an optimist because I actually do believe that if good evidence is presented to policymakers, if the truth can really be told the way it is from a social, economic, environmental perspective in a holistic way, I think that good policy can be made. I don't think there's anything that the Genuine Progress Index produces which fundamentally is bad news. If some trend is not going in the right direction, the problem is that it's invisible. If we actually have the evidence, we can know what to do about it. The problem arises when the evidence is hidden, when it's invisible. So the purpose of the Genuine Progress Index, you could say, is simply to shine the spotlight on vital, critical evidence, which remains concealed and hidden in our conventional economic growth-based measures of progress.